Hello everybody and thank you for joining Richard and me. We are doing a little bit of a different video today. 2024 plans for Shard TCG.
Take it away, James.
I think I have.
Thought you do that before you did it to me.
Right, so the first thing that I have on our list of 2024 plans is addressing set 2. So far, we are on 189 card arts that I've contributed. That's on my counter. We've got Glenn, your brother. He's contributed with a few of the card arts as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's made some interesting submissions.
Yeah.
I think his art style is definitely different, but similar enough to work. I kind of like that in some TCGs. You see it a lot in like Magic the Gathering anyway, where the artist's different and the style's a little different, but it's still consistent as a whole.
Yeah. So
So
Shard's evolving in that sense. Right, so at the moment with Glenn, he's just been contributing cards when he's really felt like it. So how much he contributes into next year, we're not so sure. You know, there's like no pressure on him. There's no pressure on us. The card game, well, set 2 of Shard TCG, Reign of Deceit, will be finished in 2024. It was looking a little bit like it might have got finished in 2023 at one stage. I was having a very productive time in the earlier part of the year. I was churning out so many card
on the
arts,
right burst
but
spree.
those are unsustainable bursts. You know, I get into these stages and then I have a bit of a lull, unfortunately. But we'll get there. We'll get there. Just
Have to remember to keep it fun.
that's
Working
it.
on
You've got
this,
to
the
keep it
hobby.
fun. So right now, like moving on, like what's made it fun for me was having a little bit of a break in drawing the Vespid cards for Awaken
Oh
the
yes.
Swarm. So that kind of took me away for a bit, and I remember I made all of those cards in the space of like a week. You
Yeah,
know,
you
just
just one shot it, didn't you?
yeah, just went right, Richard here. There they all are. Let's put some stats around these now.
That's
So
an upcoming structure deck. That'll be after set two's release. Is that right?
yeah,
Yeah.
so we've got Awaken the Swarm out now. We've play tested it a bit. We'll have to have another look over it, but right now we're very happy with how it's looking. So the whole idea is we'll have the Awaken the Swarm structure deck, which will have a physical release after Shard Set 2 is done. That's our main priority. But alongside Awaken the Swarm, we're wanting another structure deck, aren't we, Richard?
Yes.
Can
He
you
just
remember what it's
one
called?
day he calls me at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like disturbs my sleep. And he's like, "I've made crabs."
I've got crabs,
He just
Richard.
went on about his crabs, and I'm like, "What's going on?"
So we thought one of the things I really wanted was to combine like a good theme together. So I was like, I really want to just draw crabs. It's something about it. I was like, let's draw some crabs. But I was like, how can we tie this into a theme? Because the idea at first was it was going to be lots of different elements with lots of different crabs, and then we focused down to a select few elements to have these crab monsters work, and a little story kind of started to form a bit. There's nothing too in place, but I like the way it's going. So, do you want to explain a bit more of it?
Yeah. So the main theme is volcanoes, essentially, isn't it?
Yeah, crabs and
Lava,
volcanoes.
quake. Yeah. So the crabs that made their own land. Were we going that far with it? With the story?
Would they forge their own land? I figured they were just living on a little secluded island.
Okay, yeah, so it's
I mean,
yeah, okay. I'm more
maybe
adapted
there's a
to
story there. Maybe the big
ten.
volcano crab made the land. That would
Oh,
actually
how
be
come the
quite
other crabs
nice.
come? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so we'll focus around three elements with these crab monsters. We've got lava, we've got quake, and we've got earth. So you can start to see the theme come together. So you're forming an island. You need the earth, you need the lava spewing, and there's going to
The
be a
rock.
lot of validity with that as well. So I think it goes well as like a little bit of a tag team. I think with the crabs, and so far what we've built with the system with which the crabs work, combining those elements with the aquatic traits, which is normally to
Yep.
move in and out of the hand and onto the field, like waves in the ocean. We have like this aquatic trait. We've got a lot of the crabs that work well with sustaining on the field while also getting bonuses with that, but also working with just the crabs. So you can combine them with aquatics and it work, but they also work just as crabs.
There's also time with the elements a bit as well. There's
Mm-hmm.
handy lava, quake, earth cards for more element driven decks, I guess, too. So it's always a good bonus of the way we've got it set up.
So we're excited to see those. We're going to see more of those in 2024. So expect some crab cards. It's one of the reasons why the art for for the set two is going a bit slower as well. I took a break and started doing crabs. Started
I mean, it's
drawing crabs.
good to chase when you get a bit of a drive or a bit of a thirst to go, oh, I just want to do this.
Yeah,
It's good to just be able to chase it because then you're going to get better quality out of that, I think.
yeah. Let's go
So
with the
it's
last,
all right.
the path of least resistance, I suppose.
Yeah.
And you're not focusing, so you're not getting the jobs done that's needed to be done. But at the end of the day, it'll all get done.
We've
Um,
got demons and angels out as well now. So
well, yeah. So we finally did the angels and demons, so that's good. So those are kind of those are the set one structure decks in a way. So you've got set one, then you've got those structure decks. Then we'll have set two, and then we'll have Molten Claw, which is the crab structure deck, and Awaken the Swarm. So we've got a couple of personalized theme structure decks there. So there's a nice right now. There's a nice pattern. You're getting two structure decks per set.
I have good
um,
plans. There's also plans for the starter decks
Yep,
that we
that's
finally
next on the
got in
list
your
here.
hands.
So do you want to rattle those off?
Yeah, so starter decks are going to be similar to structure decks, where it's just a full deck ready to go, but they're easier in a way where structure decks are more directed towards a more advanced play style. These are more just a little preview into what Shard's like. You can just grab a starter deck and start playing. They're not going to be too much to take in for a new player, and they're also going to be a good way to kickstart a deck for a more advanced player as well. So yeah, all the cards in the starter decks are from the previous set. So set one, we've got these three starter decks coming out, and then we'll probably do the same pattern after set two, introduce another three, and they'll include cards from the set two, maybe set one and set two, and we've got a new pattern to keep going alongside the structure decks.
Yeah, so it just gives people more choice, doesn't it? And if you're getting into the game, you will find that the starter decks are very useful. And I always said if I was starting a TCG from scratch, so this is a little bit of TCG advice here, turn into a talk TCG.
Oh,
If you're starting a TCG from scratch, try and start with a starter deck first or a structure deck, base it around some sort of theme, and then from that expand into your world of having a full set. Because the whole idea of a set is really it's a booster pack. It's there to boost whatever deck that you've got. It is harder to build a deck from scratch from just booster packs. Now the reason we went the other way with this from the start, I think I'm mostly to blame for that. I just really wanted booster packs. I was very lean towards that, but over time, while developing our TCG, I've learned from that. I've seen the errors of my ways, you know. So this is something we're trying to rectify now.
you don't know till you know.
You don't know till you know. And then on top of that, right? So we've done set two. We've got Awaken the Swarm, Molten Claw. We've done the starter decks that we want to come out. Do you want to give them a preview of the names for those that we're
Oh yeah,
trialing?
so I love like we've been on about patterns. I love a good pattern, so we've got a bit of a naming scheme.
Hmm.
So ended up going with because gemstones are cool, so we went with gemstones and then like a biome of sorts to kind of place where this deck might be. So for example, we've got Ruby Marsh,
Ruby
which just sounds
Marsh.
like the ultimate protagonist.
Yeah,
Um,
I've
yeah,
I've definitely played against Ruby Marsh in a Pokemon
Ruby
game of
Marsh.
some sort. It definitely
Oh yeah,
she's definitely sounds
yeah.
like a gym leader.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the main theme around Ruby Marsh is fire and poison, and it's like swamp themed. But then
Hmm.
the Ruby comes in with the red because you got the fire, and it works around the wounding mechanic. So a lot of damage over time, which fire and poison are both good at.
Hmm.
So that acts as a great little kickstart
I
into
tell you
that.
what, tell them the other ones, but don't tell them the themes. Get them to guess in the
Oh, let me
comments section
guess.
below.
Okay, so next, this one might be an easy guess. We have Emerald Grove. Wonder what that could be, and Quartz Mountain. So hopefully we'll get good guesses
Yeah,
because it means
so
the names work.
Emerald Grove and Quartz
Mm,
Mountain. Yeah.
it's
So
not
we'll
a
see what
Ruby
they come
Marsh.
out with. I mean, they could always be altered in time. I mean, right now that is the
Yes.
plan going forward. But if new starter decks come out later and they've got different names, like we didn't plan it from this point. We're not just making up. We
We're not
might have just
beholden
decided
to.
there was a better theme or a better name in place.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's same with anything really. I mean, I don't see Awaken the Swarm getting changed, but you never know. Vespid Ferocity, something like that.
One thing I've learned making the starter decks in particular, but I guess the structure decks a bit as well, is
Hmm.
they're great for play testing and balance testing.
Yeah.
Because you can make your starter decks. So in our case of three, we've got, I'll not spoil the other two, but the Ruby one's about the wounding mechanic, and it lets us balance that against the other two because we've got clear targets to test against, and so
Mhm.
we can make sure that all these starter decks are quite balanced when played against each other. Because initially, people might buy one or two starter decks and then use them against each other.
And one might just
Um,
steamroll if we don't do the balance testing.
yeah,
And
that's
this
it.
this
So
is something. I mean, it's going back to the whole idea of saying that we should have started with starter decks. I mean,
mm,
I've said to you previously that if we're doing it again, to try and introduce as many creature types as we have was probably over ambitious. We'll
a
say,
bit of more
like
than we could chew.
we've done it, but
We've chewed it.
the
It's done.
cost is the variety within the structure. So we made set one. It's got 202 cards, but some creature types only have five of that type, and to build a
Mm.
deck around five of that type is quite limiting. I mean, we've got others that have more. We've got some with seven or eight, and then a couple that has 10 and 11 even, but those ones that had five, we feel like we've done them a disservice. What we should have done is probably subtract the ones that were on five and bolstered the rest, try to get everything to at least an eight. I'd say like a
Spread them a
seven
bit.
or an eight's probably a good number.
Spread a bit too thin, I
Yeah.
guess. We've got a lot of variety, but
Hmm.
not as much
And then
consist.
introduce those new creatures into newer sets, and then maybe rotating some of the other creatures out, give them a break for a while, maybe something like that. I mean, and I'm sure like Magic the Gathering's done that. They've done it with like the is it the Slithers or something? They they come
Yeah,
in and out of the story because it depends on which world they're in at the time, whether they're
the
relevant or not.
Eldrazi as well.
The
They
Eldrazi, yeah.
they
So
have their own colorless color brought in as well. It's a
So
bit weird.
you see that kind of rotation. Of course, it's easy with them because they bring out a set every couple of months, where us, it's more like every couple of years, but we're not an entire team, it's just us.
Yeah.
So I hope people can understand that. To homemade TCG, there's going to be that limitation, there's going to be that sort of slowness comes into play, unfortunately. Now, the next thing that I want to move on to is Elemental Expanse.
Oh yes.
And this is where we're trying to tackle this problem in a way. So, Elemental Expanse is essentially a smaller set. It's we
Micro booster.
Yeah, we don't
Maybe
really see it
maybe
as
not quite.
a. It's not really a full on set where we've have like our 200 cards like we have been making. I know it sounds crazy to say, like we're going to do a small set of probably about 100.
It might be double digits, maybe about 80. At
Well,
least more than 50,
well, yes,
maybe.
because
About,
just to
yeah.
explain to people what Elemental Expanse is, we're taking the elementals of the game, which run on mana instead of shards. So shards being the usual resource for bringing creatures onto the field, we're now going to be using mana with the elementals, which we've introduced in set one. So we want to take those set one cards, add them to this set, introduce a couple of new subspecies of each of these cards, and then from that we'll bring in other spell cards that will support this type of playstyle where you can play with just elementals, because right now elementals, they've got a couple of support cards, but you can't really build a pure elemental deck. So we thought this would be a fun challenge in a way. It's a fun little project at the very least.
Yeah, especially it's a matter of finding a way of getting a deck with lots of elements to work well, because normally elements pair well to each other, or creature types do, but the elemental creature types always being pure element based and like a support card for the rest.
Yeah.
So definitely be interesting to see
So
what cool different styles I guess we can throw into it.
so I always imagine like adding like spell cards that will support, that will target if you've got multiple elements on the field, you know? So if you've got three creatures on the field, each with a different element, you could maybe get bonuses or some
Oh, yeah.
way of promoting that diversity rather than keeping it secure. And then seeing how people will take those cards and add them to other non-elemental decks as well.
Yeah, I just think like I know there's a problem with, well, not a problem, but a design challenge with dragons, because I like the idea of, like, with dragons, it comes back to me playing Yu-Gi-Oh! I like to get as many
You
big
did like your
dragons as I
dragon
can,
deck.
but they've all got to be different. So like I don't just want three blue eyes. No, we've got to get red eyes up there and tri-horn dragons, get the lot. Um, so with our dragons, we've got the big four shard guardian dragons, which are kind of
Mhm.
a collection of sorts, but they all sport a different element, and some do have a more generic play style, but some are kind of just all about their own elements. So it'll be interesting to see if what we're doing for Elemental Expanse can actually support that sort of
Yeah.
deck as
So
well.
the dragon might couple in with the elementals maybe.
Yeah,
You just do
the
an entire elemental deck to support this one guardian dragon. That's your boss
yes,
card.
yeah.
See,
Oh,
that's a cool
I love a,
concept. Yeah, I like that.
I love a big boss dragon for a
Yeah.
deck. It's like, oh, what's your boss dragon?
And
Always
that's
need one.
just what like you've envisioned. You never
Yeah,
know
this is
what
true.
people out there are gonna build. So
These are my
you
designs.
build
Yeah.
something in some way, they're gonna go and they're gonna break it. They're gonna go,
Oh
no,
yeah.
no,
Oh,
this is how you
we've
play the
had
game, and you go, oh, that's overpowered.
we've had some crazy things happening, like
It's fun.
the Abaya abuse was major. That's an eel with zealot, so it can hit twice. But yeah, that got abused, especially with being aquatic, so it can come back.
I remember
Um,
one a while ago was with this was it self-fulfilling prophecy. They had multiple ones of those out,
yeah,
so every time a self-fulfilling prophecy, if it got an offering, it would get an offering. So then the next one got an offering, but because that one got an offering, that
yeah,
and then
self fulfilling prophecy.
yeah, two self-fulfilling prophecies will
It's gonna be
automatically
good.
max out, won't they? Provided you
Yeah.
get one prophecy on.
So we do have a rule. It's listed as a rule anyway, where if one effect triggers another effect, that can only happen up to five,
Hmm.
and then the effect link breaks. Normally, you don't get that far, but it is like a hard fix for loops. But I kind of don't like having to have something like that at the same time.
No, it's good to have something like that. It's a limit breaker, isn't
Thinking
it?
that,
Well, it's not a limit breaker,
yeah,
it's a limit setter. I'm using the complete
yeah,
opposite way of saying it. So yeah, I'm excited for Elemental Expanse. That's something that's always just been going on in the background. Where if I'm tired of doing a card, I'll draw another Elemental sprite because they're cute little simple cards to do.
yeah.
So I'll
And
get
then
the
we've
rest of
got
those done. Then we'll start looking more into the alternative subspecies for the elementals, and then we'll start to dive into exactly how we want that set to form. But set two first. That's the
I know
idea.
Glenn's come out with a lot of interesting art for the
He
alternate
has.
elementals.
Hmm.
Some really like the
So
Mercurial Jengu is one of my favorite. The Mercurial Jengu, as in the name, is liquid mercury instead. So you've got this human-like shape thing going across the desert sand. Looks really interesting and a very different take on a water elemental. So
yeah, it's a funky
interesting.
design. So the next thing that we've got up is the Old Ways little booster pack, which is a promo pack for my wife's book, which unfortunately got delayed. It was supposed to be out in October for Halloween, but things got delayed. So we're expecting it out some point this year. So at so at some point I'm gonna have to get on to actually designing more of those cards because I have three and I think I need nine because we're gonna do a small promo pack. It's gonna be in a like a booster pack format, um but they're all gonna be set cards. So you buy the pack. Those are the nine cards you get. Simple as that, you know. So there's no point buying lots of them trying to get something else. You'll get exactly the same cards.
I'm definitely looking forward to some of those because
Yeah, because that's
I
the
really
first
like
time
some of
we're
the
diving
artwork.
into like an alternate world.
Yeah, there's a very interesting artwork and very interesting cards in general. I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
I don't want to give too much away.
Yeah, but well, for people who don't know, like the old ways is based around like old like English folklore and things like that. So you get a lot of we're getting like a lot of homegrown tales within this, you know. So that's pretty exciting, you know. So a lot of the things are hard to pronounce because it's like old Celtic and Gaelic and stuff. And I'm like, oh my god, we're gonna have to change the spellings of some of these because people just aren't going to be able to pronounce them.
Kalawaka Manaku.
That's an easy one. Oh yeah, so from that point we briefly mentioned this recently as an idea to do a subspecies mini set as well.
Oh yes, yeah, because there was a lot of extra submissions put in, some by Glenn, art wise to um, Reign of Deceit
Hmm.
set two, but set two's getting more bloated, so we're wanting to strip them out. So there's a lot of subspecies there to put
But
into.
I think
Into
we've got that many creatures now. A subspecies set would be quite fun to do. So we've got known creatures. We want to do creatures that are the same as those creatures, but they're their own um, evolutionary branch, I suppose, aren't they? They're their
varying,
own
like
thing.
major variants
Yeah,
essentially.
just variants, whether that's based on whether like developed or evolved, isn't it? So with the mini subspecies set, I think it's more fun because we'll have a bit of a theme. The theme being subspecies of known creatures. So anybody who knows Shard for set one and set two might enjoy this as they're going to get little variants of well-known creatures. So I'm just trying to think of a few examples now that we've already done. We've got like the
The
Ramon,
Trifid,
which is right
yeah, the
behind you.
Phantom.
You see, you can
Yeah, that's
see
the
that
regular one.
the little green
Yeah.
rat. So we did the Phantom Ramon, didn't we?
Yeah, so it's more of a ghostly, bit of a recoloring, but it's also a bit more ghost-like phase element,
Mm-hmm.
so ties into slightly different effects, but still similar to Ramon and has a cool combo with regular Ramon as well. Another good example is the Venus Triffid. So Triffid's like a
Yeah.
man-eating plant. Venus Triffid is like that, but it looks like a Venus flytrap giant. So style-wise, it's different. And then the Triffid's poison, but the Venus Triffid, with it being based off the Venus plant, is acid because it's got like digestive acid stuff on it. So it's an interesting twist on it.
Yeah, so just more of that, really, isn't it? So we're going to take like just well-known creatures and see how we can manipulate them into something else. Like, what if they grew up in a desert environment, or what if they were contaminated with chaos magic? You know, we'll
Oh, yeah.
we'll have some fun with it. You know, and I think that'll be a fun project to tackle whether we pursue it as a pure set or we just keep it as little bonuses within larger sets. I'm not sure which way we're going with that, but it's another idea that we're working with, along with something that we've talked about a lot, and we still haven't really dived into it. We keep coming back to this conversation. We have our walks into the city as we have like a nice
Oh,
half an hour from Richard's house to walk into the city, and sometimes like it's the best time to have those types of conversations. They say you're more productive when you're walking forward. It's like a
yeah, I can
psychological
get
thing.
that.
It gets the
Yeah.
brain juices going, and so we discuss Overlord.
Yeah, so Overlord, it's an alternate style of deck. So the cards are all different. They're not you can't mix Overlord cards with non-Overlord. And essentially it's a self-playing boss deck.
Hmm.
So the idea behind it is you could play an Overlord deck, or you could play against an Overlord deck, and it'll just play itself. It has its own rulings, and you or a friend could team together with your Shard decks against an Overlord deck, and see if you can beat the boss sort of thing, or
Yeah,
you could play as the boss. So
yeah. So you can. So I like that because the whole idea is when you're building a shard deck is you're a summoner, you've got these creatures and you're wanting to play onto the field, and it would be good to have little bosses, little mini adventures that you can participate in. And what really what what really inspired us with Overlord was the with our community, isn't it? The
yeah,
people on the Shard Discord, like hello, they they kind of came together and built Overlord, didn't they? They named it Overlord.
yeah. So they're in
Isn't that
tabletop
right?
simulator with Overlord
Hmm.
boss decks of sorts. So yeah, it's interesting to see just the different play style. I think the most interesting part of Overlord is you can have a single player experience, or you can build up your deck and then test it against. Because playing Digimon recently, I have to play one of my decks against each other, and it gets quite tiring. But to have like a set standard automated opponent to play against, but physically on the table, I think it's quite interesting,
Yeah,
as well as co-op experience. Sometimes you want to play with your friend and not against them. So
yeah. So with that, I like the concept of Overlord working where the Overlord doesn't have resources. The Overlord will just automatically play when drawn, and that's
mm,
how we kind of make the Overlord self-sufficient, where you're not playing two players at once. So we go, all right, I want to play my game. I don't have anybody else to play with. I'm playing single player. I've got an Overlord deck. So the Overlord will have their main card with their abilities. Their abilities might be that they get to pull so many cards, and when they do, those are automatically played. If they've got minions, the minions come onto the field. If they've got spells or attacks, those spells and attacks are played instantly, and then you're going to have to deal with it. And I find that really exciting because if you think about it as a homemade TCG, you are very isolated if you are a player of that homemade TCG.
yeah, you
If
essentially need to buy it with a friend to really experience it. 'Cause
Yeah,
you can't just go
exactly.
to a card
And
shop or whatever and expect everyone else to have it.
yeah, an Overlord I think will be a big solution to that in a way. It's an option for someone. It's a little bit of a different experience. Some people out there might go, well, I'm playing a TCG. I play it for a certain reason, and that's to play with other people, which is fair enough. Shard is still there to be that option, but the Overlord edition in the future, I think, will be fantastic, just for those people that love the game. They want to buy the cards. They might go, well, do I really see the reason to? Because there's nobody around. I mean, obviously there might just be collectors out there as well. As always that reason. I just like them for the art. I want to just put them in little frames or put them in my little card book. I was going to say scrapbook. You don't put them in the scrapbook.
Yeah, no, no in this scrapbook. Get
Yeah,
the
you.
glue out. Oh,
Oh
no.
god, lick them,
God
stick
abuse.
them on. There we go.
Yeah.
Um, so having Overload there just gives them that extra option, something to do in their downtime. We want to start creating like little stories out of them. I see because it hasn't been play tested yet. We don't know,
Mm.
but I have the vision of perhaps when when the overlords are being released, perhaps release them in several overlords at once with a story that goes with it. Little twists on the way. You can read the stories in between playing the overlords, and you can progress through this little adventure if you like. Or you can take the overlords once we have multiple ones, and you can start to create own stories of yourself. You can the creativity is there for the players, and that really makes me believe that it's going to be a good little game. It's going to be a good little game for people to play.
Gets me thinking how far we can push things. Like, rather than just an Overlord, do we have an entire board game that's compatible with the card game? So you got a little board game adventure with one or more players, but you can bring your own deck to the experience at the same time.
It's a card game.
Oh,
we don't need all that. It's a card game. Keep it cards.
We'll keep it card, but it's always fun to speculate about
card game.
We'll get all these pieces, James. You have to build little things and put tiles down tiles.
And little figures.
Dice.
Yeah. I did this little Gru figure. There, get the Gru figures. This is your Overlord now. He's ugly. I love him. Yep, so that's the whole concept behind Overlord. I know I've mentioned it before. I don't know when we'll actually start doing Overlord. Whether it's this year, I doubt it. It's probably going to be next year. That'll be 2025's project. Yeah. This year is set to get the structure decks out, get the starter decks out, and we'll start working on elemental expands. Probably at the same time as that, we'll look at Overlord. With the Shard TCG channel, we went from just over 800 subs at the start of 2023. And at the end of 2023, we had just over 1,600. So the channel's doubled in size in terms of subscribers. And hopefully it'll stay that trajectory. And, by the end of this year, we'll have 3,200 plus subscribers. Fingers crossed anyway. That's my personal goal. Just double it every year. Just double it.
Yeah.
I think some people go, I want this massive breakout, and we get like 10,000 subscribers, which I'm not refusing. If you want to hit the subscribe button, get us to like 10,000 in 1 week, that would be great. But the 3,200 I think would be fun as well, just to say that it's doubled again. Right now, I've been doing a lot of like the Talk TCGs and TCG R&Ds. They're going to continue as usual. I don't see why not. They work. People like them. Everybody's like hitting the like buttons for those. They're getting a lot of comments, getting a lot of feedback, and a lot of people are finding Shard TCG through those videos as well. They watch the advice, and then they become curious about the game that has been developed. So we're learning from Shard TCG, and I'm putting it in these videos, as well as doing research and putting it in these videos. So that seems good. I don't see why we shouldn't continue doing Talk TCGs, TCG R&Ds. Richard was also the big help for me starting doing TCG R&Ds. And he told me about this format. I said, I like doing Talk TCGs, but I feel like there's only so much I can do. And then Richard helped me out with telling me about the format of like reaction type videos, which I just hadn't really contemplated before.
I'm mainly just watching a few YouTubers. It's more about programming videos and card game, but the whole article reaction sort of format. So all I've done is suggest it to you, the one that's made it happen, obviously. But
well, I
think they've come out quite well.
You got to plant the seed somewhere, haven't you? Richard planted his seed in me, and
there we go.
And I'm very grateful for it. Thank you for your seed, Richard.
I hope it grows well.
It has. It. I'm a grower, Richard.
Oh dear.
So in terms of other types of video formats that we want for Shard TCG, the YouTube channel. So yeah, talk TCGs, TCG R&Ds. We'll be doing some more streams at some point through the year. We'll want to do some development streams as well as gameplay streams. So we'll be playing Shard TCG. We'll be doing the gameplay. I want to be doing some card reviews on the streams because I think that's something different for people to see.
Ooh.
Something it's a little bit similar to this now, like they can see us talking a bit back and forth while also developing the cards, and people could even comment in with little influences as well because we've had lots of helpful comments over the years,
Oh yeah.
and that can obviously help as well, and because we can even play test at the same time. We can half and half it, you know. It's, there's ways we can go about that, you know. On top of that, I mean, I've been talking about this for a while now, wanting to do some sort of TCG podcast where I'm getting other TCG developers, TCG creators onto the channel, and we like share some knowledge with each other, some good homemade TCG personalities, you know, people who aren't afraid to be in front of the camera, basically, you know.
Maybe a bit like this format sort of thing. But
Yeah, I mean, in a way, this video is a little bit of a tester for that, you know, just to see how people react to this kind of format. Whether I'm sounding good, because I normally heavily edit my videos, so I get rid of all my stutters and things. But I know with people with podcast formats, there are a little bit more patient. You know, I can like pick and choose my words a bit more carefully. It's people who really want to deep dive into a bit of knowledge. Whether I can do a podcast format, I'm not sure, but the whole idea in my mind is I'll try and get 10 videos done and try and release them probably every 2 weeks or so. So you'll have a new guest on every couple of weeks and rattle them off. So that'll be well, every couple of weeks. So that'll be like a 20-week series. We'll get 10 episodes and probably aim for them to be half an hour to an hour long, depending how things feel. I suppose I don't want to go on for too long. I don't want like a 3 hour thing where I'm talking about TCGs. You tend to repeat yourself after a while. So let me know in the comment section if you think that's a good idea. We should like pursue a podcast in the future. Like I've been torn Richard. I'm not sure if it should just be me and one other person, or if it should be Richard and me and one other person. Like whether that feels like we're ganging up on them, you know, in a way, or that can also be harder to actually find a suitable time as well, because you're having to get three people into the room at the same time, you know, or into the chat at the same time.
mm,
But I think it'll be a good new format in which we can talk about TCGs, homemade TCGs, share that experience. It doesn't really just have to be creators. I would like it to just be somewhat TCG related. So I might be able to get some other TCG related channels that may not necessarily be homemade TCG, that might have that opinion from an outsider's perspective while still having the knowledge of a TCG. I think that would also be really good to contribute to the channel. I'm done.
I'm looking forward to watching those. I think it'll be quite fun to see what others have to say of TCG devs, I guess. Be interesting to see what other views come in, what subjects come up.
We'll see. We'll see. It's all It's all hypothetical, isn't it? So we don't know just yet.
Rewritten the entire website. So website's good for people to land on, be able to see what Shard TCG is. It's got a link to the store, and then we've got the nice card preview stuff, and that's used for videos and whatnot as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's also used for building the cards, so all the stats and that go into a database, so we can better manage everything. And we've got like a card editors now, and I might be looking at the gets more boring technical talk for me, but there's stuff like I know the Game Crafter has an API, so we can automate getting the entire booster packs up and updated on their site. So there's stuff like that I'd probably want to look at.
That would be really
And
cool.
yeah, because then we can make a set on the site and then click a button or throw a command at it, and it'll just add it on the Game Crafter for us, and we don't have to do any manual stuff anymore. That'd be nice.
It's all automated.
It's your philosophy of my life. It's like I don't like doing that, so can I find a way to make it so I don't have to anymore?
And then
Uh,
next you'll be building your own AI to do the art.
oh yes. But yeah, then on top of that, there's more website fixes. I feel like the website needs it offers more now, but I think it's the interface is a bit complicated. I'm a back end dev, so website's front end, so I'm not as good at that sort of thing. But yeah,
Oh, good
I've
luck.
got like notes for improvements, the deck builder and stuff as well, so people can make their own decks and export it to tabletop sim, that sort of thing. So always lots of stuff in the background unseen that I'm tinkering away with, as well as like I mean you do this too, and I'll do it with a lot of the community that we've got now. I'll hop on tabletop sim. Some members in particular are very specific about the card details to the point where they're like, that word's got a typo or that should be capitalized here. So it's actually really useful to
But they're
have people
right.
like
So
help.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
they are right. So it's like it's very quite fortunate to have people like that in the
yeah,
community to help correct things while I'm fine tuning and play testing against them as well in tabletop. So yeah, it's good to have feedback from others basically. So tabletop in general has been a brilliant tool just for developing the game.
those are the plans for 2024 and a little bit beyond as well.
Oh,
If we're
oh.
looking at, if you're thinking Overlord, Elemental Expanse will probably be beyond that point. But it's exciting. It shows that Shard, several years, it's still got at least a couple of years in the tank. And then in a
Yeah,
couple of years' time, we'll have more ideas probably. Or
I
maybe
feel we spent.
we'll rest on our laurels and just plod on going more of the same.
I think we've spent a lot of time on set one getting, but it's the first set getting the entire game on its feet. Essentially, it's taken easily more years than we anticipated and wanted. But I feel we've got a good foundation to build on now. So
Yeah,
I'm feeling quite happy going forwards with it.
that's good. Now, and I've said this a few times over the past year now. I see the future of Shard being more smaller sets or structure sets in the future. So Elemental Expanse being a smaller set, I don't think will be an outlier. Well, no, I think it'll become the norm where
Hmm.
we're releasing smaller, focused, more fun theme sets. Now that we would have set one and set two as good all round base sets, we can
That's
go
like
more into that
400
fun
plus.
theme because the foundation's been built.
It's been a bit widespread, but that's 400 plus cards
Yeah.
in set one and two combined. That's a huge foundation to do lots of fun little things on top of now. And
Hmm.
then yeah, I think it's a good approach.
Yeah. So the idea is if say we went purely into structure decks in the future, after these sets are done, we do the elemental expands. Perhaps we do like a mini proper third set in the future, like or like the subspecies set, things like that.
Yeah,
Subspecies set could be 50 subspecies from the 400 cards. I know not all of them are monsters, so but you know what I mean. So that could even be a small set. Maybe you do.
subspecies spells. Hmm.
We've talked about that. We
New
could probably
fireball.
include that. You know,
Yeah.
in a way, we kind of have that. We've got the fireball and we've got the terrifier, which appears a little bit like a
Yeah, I
subspecies
guess.
of the
Yeah.
spell. You know, it's got the same character holding the fire.
Mm.
So in a way, we've kind of got it.
Yeah.
Um, so that might be a fun thing to look at too. But I think if we're looking at structure decks and you're basing it off using previous cards plus say like 10 additional new cards within the structure deck, a bit like Awaken the Swarm, then to make 10 cards, play test, and then have it ready will only take a few months rather than making like 200 cards, play test, and release. So if we're doing that, we could be looking at structure decks coming out every 3 to 6 months, which means even though there are fewer cards coming out overall, there is more progress
Yeah,
within
there's
Shard
more
TCG.
available. I think the
There's more
frequency is higher.
releases,
Yeah.
and even though there's not as many cards, there are new edition cards. The game doesn't get stale because right now one of the issues is that we said here's set 2, and we came up with most of the cards and went, and the art will come out slowly for these sets as we tweak the cards as well.
Mm.
People would play test the cards, we would tweak them a bit, art would get added to them later, they would get tweaked a little bit more. That's fair enough. If we're doing it this way every few months, if we're getting like a batch of 10 new cards that are getting combined with pre-existing cards to create decks, and there's a fun theme around it, people can get behind it a bit more. We play test, we tweak a little bit, and then it's out, and then the next one's coming. There's always that refresh. There's always that fresh feel. That's it. There's always that fresh feel to Shard, which I think will be better for the players. It'll be better for the viewers on YouTube as well, because when I'll be coming on, I'll be going, here's a fresh set. What do you think? Here's another fresh set. What do you think? And there's a bit more of that conveyor belt roll rather than that whole dumpster truck of here's a new set and then nothing for a couple of years while
It's better for us
we
as well,
fine
which I
iron it.
think's
Yeah,
important as well. Keeps things fresh for us.
that's
And
it. It's more fun for us that way, because if you're looking at a small project, you go, I'm really excited about this project, and now the project's done. Move on. We're on to the next project. So that I think that'll be good, and I think we'll be seeing that a lot with when we're developing the Overlords as well, because they're going to be
same sort of approach.
that's like a smaller set, isn't it? So the whole idea is they'll be coming out every several months, and when
for
we've got
Overlords and structures and smaller sets in general, I was thinking from a play testing point of view, they're going to be much easier to play test against an existing card base now as well. Because we've already got existing structure decks, starter decks, or custom made decks that we can test them against as we're building them. So I think that's going to make things a bit easier and faster for developing them as well from a gameplay point of view.
Yeah, definitely. So overall, pretty excited about all of it. What do you think? Out of 10, how did we do for this video?
Oh,
Be honest.
I think you're about an 8, James. Maybe a 7. Depends
Oh,
on a good day.
he's honest.
I didn't have the suit on.
I
mean, I
didn't.
don't have a suit.
No, I'm wearing
but,
my. Well, it's a new shirt. I've got ridges.
It's a nice new shirt, actually.
Thank you.
It's ribbed.
It's ribbed.
So,
Yeah. So thank you very much for watching this 2024 Shard TCG plans for the future, or whatever we'll name it. And like I say, it's been a very long format video. So if you've watched it up to this point, thank you so much. That means so much to us. You've went through, you've dragged through, you've had to just listen to us. I think you've earned yourself a break. Go and make yourself a cup of tea, and maybe if you feel up to it, click on one of our other videos. Okay. Thank you very much. Goodbye.